Everybody. Apologies. Do we have any apologies? None. Conflicts of interest? Any conflicts of interest to be noted? None. Confirmation of minutes 3.1. By the mover, moved Councillor Fulton, seconded Councillor Williams. Any corrections need to be made to those minutes, or blindingly not right? No, I'll put those minutes. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Matters arising, we have none that I'm aware of. I haven't had any noted. Are there any that need to be noted? No. Okay. Right, yeah, sitting down the back, obviously we have some staff and down there. But also we have Greg Bell. Greg, if you could just, Greg's, as you well know, Nicole has a very important mission that she's on within the next 4 weeks, the next 12 months. So Greg's going to be filling in for us, taking on Nicole's role temporarily until Nicole returns to us safely. So welcome, Greg, and we look forward to working with you on the way through. All right, our presentations. And Miles, welcome again. Miles from Bancorp. And what we will do is you're in your hands, Miles, and your presentation's up. So
can I just press this one in the middle?
Yes, please. And just remember, everything's live streamed.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to present this morning. How long would you like me to speak for, or how long have you allocated for?
About 10 minutes, I think we'd had. Is that going to...
I'll have to go quite, maybe 15, is that too much?
We can probably stretch to 15.
Right. So I'll go through this presentation, what's happening on the economy. So what we've got at the moment is the tightening cycle, with monetary policy and the raising of interest rates both globally and in New Zealand has really come to an end. Central banks are signalling that they have seen the peak in the tightening cycle, and that was brought about by COVID, and now that central banks are signalling that those tightenings are over and that we're going to be at some point entering into an easing cycle. The main thing to point out is that there's a wee bit of a sort of a standoff between the markets and the central banks. The central banks have indicated that that when they indicate that they will have an easing cycle coming up, the markets actually take that as well. It's going to happen sooner than expected, and they tend to front run the easing cycle or the cuts in interest rates. The central banks don't particularly like it because they have said they want to maintain interest rates at a level which will help control inflation, because the whole reason that we want high interest rates is to control inflation. The markets in New Zealand have front run those cuts. I'll show you that in a minute. What's happened recently, you had about a month ago the ANZ come out and say that there were going to be 2 interest rate hikes in the February monetary policy statement that we've had. And in April, that proved to be wrong. I couldn't see the logic for that they used to justify the hikes, the potential hikes. I think what they were saying was that the Reserve Bank have said that there's a likelihood that we could hike, so they will. They didn't actually say that at all. They said there was a possibility that we might have to raise interest rates. So I just think they took that as that it was actually going to happen. And then it had the effect of pushing interest rates up quite a bit. Though New Zealand's biggest bank, a lot of people, it was the chief economist, a lot of people take note of what they say. And I think they actually did a bit of a disservice. I mean, okay, economists have to put their neck out sometimes, but and then there were conspiracy theorists about that they know what's going to happen because they've got a line into the Reserve Bank and they're trying to push interest rates up to get people to fix mortgages. We had the monetary policy statement come out, and the Reserve Bank actually was more pessimistic than what the markets thought. They thought they would keep the cash rate where it was, which they did, but they would actually talk tough and say it's going to be there for a long time. They did say that we need high interest rates for a sustained period of time, but they were more pessimistic. It's what's called a dovish statement, and they pointed to the risks in the economy, that inflation was slowing, that capacity constraints were easing, and that there were slowdown in global markets, especially China. and that pushed interest rates down significantly, about 25-30 points since then. Immediately, and they've actually continued to fall since then. We have had the inflation data come out, and that was, inflation dropped to 4.7%, but tradables inflation was a bit higher at 5.9%. And tradables inflation is that is not subject to foreign intervention or foreign influence. And the 5 reasons were rentals, construction costs, insurance, electricity, and you might be able to guess the last one, rates. But that is the period. This graph shows the US Treasury bond in red and the New Zealand 10-year government bond in black. It shows the peak, and I think I would have shown you last time, that we had in October, and then the sharp fall we had down into December. Then it moved up again because they thought inflation wasn't under control, but now it's come back down again. And I think, we have seen the peak in interest rates, so I'm going through these quite quickly. I just thought I'd put this one in. It's a wee bit interesting. It shows the US debt at 34 trillion. It goes up by $1 trillion every 100 days. If you actually look at the debt clock, you see it live on the internet. I think it's in Times Square too. The debt goes up by about $1 million every 30 seconds in the US. So if you think you've got a debt problem, just spare a thought for those in the US. The forecast and market implied interest rates, what it's showing, the various ones. We've got the Reserve Bank in the green who are predicting that the OCR will get to 3.25%, and then you've got the various banks and the market. The market implied rate is the one in blue, the long dated one in blue. So the market actually doesn't think that interest rates will go as low as what the RBNZ thinks, but the market thinks that interest rates will come down sooner than what the Reserve Bank thinks. So the expectation, in essence, the Reserve Bank is saying that the cash rate will start coming down, the OCR will start coming down in the middle of next year. The markets are actually implying, well, this is the bank economists, and they vary between this year, middle of this year and early next year, whereas we have the financial markets, which is distinct from the bank economists. They're saying either August or October this year that the cash rate will start coming down. This one's just quite interesting because it's actually directly relevant to what you do. This is the hiking, the easing cycles of the OCR since 1999 when it came in. So that's the amount of the easing, it's not where the rate went to. You can see that long, see if I can do this. That one there, that's the tightening cycle that we had in the lead up to the GFC. Took nearly 4 years, and it was 325 points. The one over here is the one that we've just had. That's very significant in that it was the fastest and it was the steepest. It went up 525 points, and that was a result of COVID and inflation. And then we moved down to here. This was the GFC, the global financial crisis induced very sharp fall in interest rates over a very, very, very short time frame. 575 points. Now, the interesting one is that if you take the easing cycles we've had since the OCR came in, we've had 5 easing cycles. You take away the one that happened as a result of GFC, we've had the remaining 4. 3 of them have been for 175 points, and the other one was for 75 points. What we're thinking is that this easing cycle could be around about 200 points, maybe a little bit more. So we're at 550 at the moment, and I'll show you the relevance in a minute. I won't go into the detail on this. Just summarise, before the monetary policy statement, which was, not last week, the week before, the markets were assigning a 48% probability that the OCR would be hiked to 575, and that by May 25, it would be at 472. Immediately after it, now they've said they're not assigning any chance of a hike, and they're saying by May 25 it will be at 446. So there's been a significant change since the monetary policy statement. Those are the New Zealand rates, the OCR in red, the 90-day rate in black, and the 7-year swap rate in blue. Now, we've got this thing called the inverted yield curve, where longer-term rates are lower than short-term rates, and that's very unusual. We've only ever had it twice since the year 2000, and what it normally say, and so it's the market's actually front running these interest rate cuts, saying interest rates are going to go lower because the OCR and the 90-day rate are dictated by Reserve Bank policy, whereas the markets are sort of free rein to push in swap rates where they like. So it produces what we call lower forward start swap rates, and I'll show you the relevance in a minute. So there's your profile. It shows that you do have a minor breach there, which was noted last time. So just there where that line is, that line there is under the red line. It's very minor, and last time that I was here late last year, it was noted that it was committee deemed it acceptable that we had this minor breach because interest rates were elevated, and since October last year, interest rates have fallen dramatically now. If we want to rectify that breach, we could take out two interest rate swaps. One's for 15 million starting in June 26 and going out to June 30, the rate's 403. The other's 12 million starting in July 27 going to October 30 and the rate's 408. Those rates were probably 30, 40 points higher when I spoke to the committee last time. What we're saying, this is what I was sort of leading up to, is that if the OCR drops by 200 points, it takes it down to 350. So the 90-day rate normally trades at about a 25-point premium over the OCR. So if we can swap a 90-day rate for, well, the target that I would have with these two rates, sorry, is around about 375, 385. I think that's realistic, and that's because of this inverted yield curve that we get these lower rates. I mean, the 5-year rate at the moment is 440, but these rates are going out to 5 and 6 year rates around about 440, 450. We're getting these rates at 4 at the moment. I'm targeting 375 to 385. That will rectify the breach, and that's the dotted line there. This goes out here, it'll increase the level of cover. And I think that's realistic given that we'll have 200 points of cuts. But the important thing is that we might get these rates down 385, even for this one interest rate cut. And it's because of this unusual situation with this inverted yield curve that we've got at the moment, which delivers these lower forward start swap rates. So that's my, that would be the strategy that we've got at the moment to rectify a policy breach. And there's your projected cost of funds. So the good news, so the main one to look at is this one here, where I've got the cursor. That's your projected cost, and that comes down to around about 4% from your 4.7 at the moment. And that's as a result of the expected fall in the cash in the cash rate and the 90-day rate. And that will fall by about in 2 years' time down to 4%. Now, if your debt actually did increase further than what we're projecting, if your debt does increase from the 180 and the 180 million, that cost of funds will actually go lower. Ironically, you'll be borrowing more at these lower interest rates. So it's a bit unusual, isn't it? The more you borrow, the less it costs you. Well, the less it costs you as an interest rate, the more it costs you on an outright basis. Do you want me to mention what's happening with water reforms? It takes about 1 minute. We don't know what's happening.
We do.
The inferences are that the new type of financially independent accounts control organisations will be created. The issue is if they're financially independent, i.e. the balance sheet, it's the balance sheet separation, they'll have to stand on their own merits, which would likely mean they can't no longer be able to access LGFA, meaning a higher cost of funding. But the government has said that the first bill is going to be introduced in the middle of this year, but the more detailed announcement and what the funding vehicle will be won't be till the middle of 2025. So my advice is that you just carry on business as usual. We don't know what's going to happen. Some councils took the view that they took account of the fact that they would lose their water debt and play habit with their funding maturity profile. That's it. 15 minutes.
Very good, Ross. Thank you for that. Gained 2 minutes.
Any further?
Yeah.
Just one question. Your slide about the USA debt position. What's the end game there, and what effect will it have on the global economy?
I asked someone in their office that the other day. I don't know. I mean, it's just the scary thing about it is that I mean, you see the lead up. Yeah, I mean, this was, I think it was President Bush, I think, there. You know, and that was COVID, but under the last bit of Trump and then Biden, this is Bidenomics. You know, there's just an awful lot of spending going on, and it's getting exponential, the level of the increase in the debt. We don't know, no one actually knows what the end game will be. They will never back back, but how they say that they will get out of it is that they inflate their way out of it. So while debt increases, economic growth increases, so as a percentage of GDP, in other words, their gross domestic product, their total economy, it declines as a percentage because their economy grows. Well, I don't think that'll happen. So if I knew the answer to that, well, I'd love to know the answer. I could get very rich. But yeah, it's a really good question, and it's one which I think a lot of people are grappling with around the world, but they don't seem to be that concerned about it. The US debt will actually, the interest on US debt will soon surpass that of their defence spending, which is about $800 or $900 billion a year. So sorry, I can't answer that. I'd love to be able to.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Miles, for your presentation. I was talking to a investment company the other day, and he was telling me that in the US, that your mortgage rates, which you negotiate with the bank, they will give you that rate, say 2% for the duration of your loan. Say it's 30 years, so it never goes over that. So he was advising to me that from an investment perspective, the US is where they're starting to put a lot of money into investments because of the return. Just wondered whether what your comment to that would be, and I certainly wish our banks would offer a similar deal. When mine got refixed last year, I was about swallowed myself, but if you had it fixed at 2% for the duration, it seemed to me to be a fairly good deal. I don't understand how they can actually do that.
Yeah, so in the US, most of their mortgages are 30 years. In New Zealand, I think the average is about 2 to 3 years. This is the term of the how long it's fixed for. Now that 2% would have been back in the when we had the.
I just plucked the figure.
Oh, yeah. That would have been back. That would have been back here when interest rates were down at this level. And that was at the height of, after COVID. Those rates aren't available anymore. But they do. But in the US, they do have the predominant term for a mortgage is 30 years. And so actually a lot of people have been insulated against this rise in interest rates that they've had because they would have fixed for 30 years, whereas in New Zealand. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why their economy is it's the strongest economy in the world at the moment. They haven't been as affected, mortgage holders, and therefore their consumer economy hasn't been as affected as it has in New Zealand. Whereas in New Zealand, I mean, they were at 2 and 3, and now they're at 6 and 7. And that's actually one of the biggest concerns is that the level of consumer spending is dropping dramatically. And retail sales, they were down, 6.6% in the year because they've been squeezed with mortgage rates and, doubling, tripling of mortgage costs, of interest costs. But that, if for some reason it's it's just the US market, they fix for 30 years, our banks don't.
Well, it's just a question from me. If you go back one of the slides here, it's just back one. Oh, it's forward, too. Next one. That one. Why is it that the ANZ there is just well behind the rest of the market? If they're not indicated, or why is that they are so far out compared to the rest of the predictions?
Well, if I had that graph up 3 weeks ago, that would show that they were predicting the cash rate to go to 6%, the OCR to go to 6%. they just believe that inflation is going to remain high for a lot longer, and that the Reserve Bank will have to maintain the cash rate at the OCR at its current level of 5.5%, and that they won't be in a position to move till, well, they say, the ANZ is saying 25, round about March 25, that they won't be able to move. Now, what the markets are actually saying, this is the anomaly. This is a bank economists, most of it, apart from that, which is the market. So these, where's the Reserve Bank? There's the Reserve Bank. That's market interest rates there, and the rest of them are bank economists. So the bank economists are actually saying that it's going to be pushed out at the start of the easing cycle, whereas the market, which is a different part of the bank, is saying that they're going to happen sooner, mid this year. And the economists actually, I did ask about that, and the economists sit in this void almost, and they're removed from the traders. Sometimes when an announcement's coming out, they'll lock the door. And so there's no sort of outside influence. But what the market is actually saying is that the Reserve Bank saying we have to keep interest rates high because the fight against inflation isn't won yet. But what the market is saying, well, the market's saying, could be saying one of three things: that we believe inflation is going to come down a lot sooner than what the Reserve Bank thinks, or that the indications are later this year, which will enable the OCR to drop this year, to start easing this year, is that there'll be enough indications that the economy's in a hole that it will justify the Reserve Bank easing, or that the Reserve Bank, in the face of the expected slowdown in the economy, which they think could be quite sharp this year, they won't be able to hold the line, and that they'll be forced to drop interest rates. I think it's a combination of that one, but also that the indications are that inflation is dropping. Now, we'll have a very good indication, we'll have a good indication of what the economy's doing next week when the GDP data for the December quarter comes out. New Zealand's the last country in the world to get its GDP data out, and they will. The Reserve Bank are projecting that the economy was exactly flat, that there'll be no increase, no decrease. They were exactly zero, which means we won't be in recession because we had to decline by 0.3% in the September quarter. We have to have 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth to be in a recession. They're saying no, but last time the Reserve Bank projected that the economy, for the September quarter, the Reserve Bank projected it it would increase by 0.6 and it would decline by 0.3. They got it so wrong. This is a bit of a bugbear of mine. I can't understand how they can be so wrong, because I mean, we have 300 clients around the country, and I mean, they were all telling us how difficult things were. I mean, the only sector that's doing okay at the moment is tourism. I mean, I've been travelling for the last 2 months, and local authorities around the country are all telling me that their rates of arrears are going up quite sharply. So that's I think, does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think that's just such an anomaly. There was always looking at it. Thank you for that. Joan.
Thank you. Thank you, Miles, for coming. It's really interesting. It's good to have you on board as well. Our LTP is really based on quite conservative figures. We're very good at doing things in a conservative way, which helps us immensely. But given the growth that we're expecting in our district, and in the foreseeable future we're expecting more growth too. We've got lots happening. I'm sure that you will be advising our team with that gap in 2028, or that closeness, that may not even eventuate, might it, if we're very careful what we do.
That's based on...
That's the tight bit.
That bit there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is based on your current debt level of 180 million.
Yeah.
So that's the grey area. If your debt does increase, I haven't seen the latest projections. What are they at the moment?
We're expecting in the next probably financial year to get up to just over 220.
Yeah. That will, if that's the case, that gap will increase, but we will have taken out those swaps by then, so that will be taken away. What my plan is to actually push, when interest rates start falling, we do these ones.
Yep.
And then as they start falling, we'll look to increase the cover levels up to, so those are the cover levels there with those swaps. I'm going to get more up ahead.
Yeah.
So that we'll be able to protect you against high interest rates. So that will happen when the easing, so that as the rates fall with the easing cycle, that will enable us to do that. Now, I would say that your growth projection is way below most councils.
Yeah.
If you're talking about 200, 220. My biggest, we have 35 local government clients in New Zealand. My biggest fear in the sector actually is, and I'm really worried about the sector, is rates affordability and the inability to pay for the expected capex that some councils are faced with. But you're actually in quite an enviable position that you haven't got those massive capex increases. I'm talking to councils who at the moment are looking at 20, some might even be 30% rate increases. I was talking to one the other day, where I was the other day, and they were actually increasing security at their front desk, at the front office, and expecting when the rate increases get announced, and the staff are having training on confrontation management. Now, it's pretty sad when it gets to that, but
Well, I guess it says that, you need to keep up your infrastructure expenditure, capital expenditure. Otherwise, it will
No questions, thank you. We'll debate later. Tim, last question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank Councillor Gordon. Posed a good question. Got some good answers to one of my questions. I'm interested, thanks Miles for that report, what is the relative sort of pressure of private and public debt? What's the greatest stressor on the economy at the moment? Is it private debt or is it government debt? You often hear this question a lot about government spending, and it's post-COVID especially.
Yeah.
But where's private debt? Because that's obviously sits alongside the other pressures as well.
As far as government debt goes, New Zealand actually has a reasonably, I forget what the percentage is, but New Zealand has a reasonably low percentage of government debt to GDP, whereas we have a very high percentage of private sector debt to GDP, and that's our mortgages.
And how sorry, electronic problem?
Yeah, back on. We can do
Just one second.
probably going to happen soon, I think. Yeah. I just need to turn that off in case we get water going.
Thank you.
I just need to turn the power off under there in case turn off the lights.
So it won't affect it, it'll be all right. Yeah.
My apologies, Chair.
Thank you. You're right, man. Keep your coffee off the desk. Yeah. Okay.
Jason, here's a picture of the screen.
Oh. Thank you. Should be right to leave on, I think.
Yeah, is it?
We right?
We're ready. Sorry for the interruption. Karen Fry with Lovely Economics. Right. When we're talking about a rates take, is that regarded as that's a form of public debt or is it private debt?
Local government debt is public debt.
Yeah. Okay.
New Zealand has a very high percentage of private sector debt. Japan is exactly the other way around. They have a very high percentage of public sector debt, but they actually, I think, have net private sector savings because the Japanese are investors and they save. The reason why New Zealand has been affected quite a bit in the GFC, in this COVID-induced period of higher interest rates is our preoccupation with having mortgages, and it's had a significant effect. We've got a client who's owned shopping malls, and they're seeing a significant reduction in the retail spend, and that's as a result of mortgages going up. I mean, the economy, you look at retail sales, and the other one I saw the other day, which was quite frightening, was that, illuminating, was that building consents are down 28% year on year. So, but rates affordability, I think, is quite an important issue at the moment, and you're probably well aware of it. But I think compared to a lot of others, you're in a pretty good position.
Thank you, Miles.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much, Miles, for that presentation. We all appreciate you coming here to speak to us, because it's good information for us as we move through. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. Cheers.
Right, item 5.1, Simon and Nicole and Claire. Yes, Simon? Yeah.
It's Jim.
That's the bit. I don't know, I like the chat.
We'll put lemon in it next time.
The report in front of you today presents reports from NZ. First of those is the draft statement of intent for the period beginning July the 1st, 2024. And this is the committee's opportunity to view that report, that statement of intent and provide some feedback. You'll also note that there are two other reports attached to this, and that is one of the promotions activity report and then the operation report for the 6-month period. I have beside me Peter and Claire from the NC, who will take you through a few little slides and a bit of a presentation. And welcome some questions at the balance of that. This is Council's opportunity to provide some feedback on the statement of intent as described before the July period arrives with us. So we welcome those comments. But just note that the statement of intent broadly aligns with the strategic plan that Council viewed and supported in December last year. So I'll hand over to colleagues here from NC.
Thank you. It's great to see you all here. Good turnout from the council. I'd like to, I am pleased to present the 6-month report, so I'll take you through that and then we'll talk about statement of intent. And I'm only just highlighting the 6 months, so you've pretty much taken that as read. So I thought I'd throw up some lovely images. So we have nearly completed the DIA funding of 300,000, it's about 296,000 that we were able to access to upgrade the cycle trails in Waimakariri, the stop banks and the two high Tara coastal track. Approximately 27 kilometres has been upgraded with General's contracting to an AP20 standard and fully accessible with the width and quality for wheelchair accessibility. So we work with Mark Ingalls on that. All that's left in the budget is to some wayfinding signage, like when you're out on the walking track, you see the orange triangles. It's what we need. There's so many people get to a certain point, go which way we go with the wayfinding, and we're working with ECAN and TKRT to finalise that in the next few months. So our report to DIA will be complete and will work by 30th of June. We see this still as stage 1 of the Wheels to Waipara, or the multi-day cycle trail that we've done a full feasibility study on. We think we've done as much as we can for Waimakariri, and it's really up to Haranui now to step up, get their funding and finish the leaf field pretty much. So I want to credit to Waipara, because there already is a cycle trail in Waipara through the vineyards of 18 kilometres completed. Ultimately, obviously, it's the Picton to Christchurch all off-road that we're all need to be striving for as councils, and a working group needs to be put together from the 5 different councils to ensure that actually we can secure and cooperatively collaboratively go together for funding for a multi-day cycle trail from Captain to Christchurch. So that's the ultimate. Visit Waimakariri team created and implemented a comprehensive district marketing campaign. It's running from the 13th of November to the 4th of April. Why not make a day of it? There's 3 billboards locations in Christchurch, press digital adverts, as well as 3 weekend section adverts, stuff digital, Google ad displays, and paid targeted social media, which will be measuring its success when complete. One of the things we did make from that we used throughout the Google ads and the stuff digital was a video that we had produced. We actually had 2 produced, but I'm going to play one today that you may have seen in your Facebook feeds.
Do we have sound, Adrian?
Sounds off on your computer.
Okay, try.
That one, or it will still lose
Waimakariri. Why not make a day of it?
Would you like to see that one again?
Finding that special something had come easy for Amelia and Kate. But keeping track of time has not.
that one, or it will still lose
Waimakariri. Why not make a day of it?
So part of our engagement and support of local businesses is through our training program, coaching, through our New Zealand Trade Enterprise vouchers, and celebrating North Canterbury businesses. So 15 years ago now, we set up our annual business awards in North Canterbury, celebrating our own businesses. I'm pleased to say we're doing it again in a couple more years, whereas the Canterbury Champions for the Chamber has been cancelled. So it's nice to see that we can, we've initiated this ourselves and it's still going very strong. So we had 60 entries in 9 categories in September, this last 6-month period, and 371 attended the gala dinner and ceremony, and we think it was a great success, and those who went probably agreed with us. Picture of the dark skies. So, look, Mount Oxford Forest Conservation Area has achieved international dark sky accreditation in the last few months. We funded a report with Benji Patterson regarding the economic impacts of a dark skies trail. This was used when applying for the accreditation with the international accreditation, showing that a trail has the potential to bring in approximately 46 million per year in additional income in areas along the trail. We believe that this will attract more visitors to Oxford and its observatory. We're in the process of collaborating with Kaikoura, Huronui, Selwyn, Methven, Timaru and Mackenzie to develop the Dark Skies Trail. Made North Canterbury is a local provenance food and beverage provenance project, unifying local producers under the Made North Canterbury brand. It has many ways of engaging and supporting with local producers, and one this period was through the North course. We had 21 entries using 41 local producers. This generated 547 ratings compared with 206 last year. This will be an annual event. For the top 4 winners, and the dish shown here was the Office Cafe in Waikuku, Room Moon at number 31 in Springs, the outright winner was the Black Beach Wine Bar and Cafe. Did a great job of engaging everybody that walked in the door, said try out, of course, and match it with their local wine or beer. During that month, we also had supermarket activations with Pack and Save, Ravenswood, New World, and Durham Street, New World, who flew the flag, made North Canterbury at ends of aisles, free of charge for our producers, and we just organised and liaised with them. And subsequently, Pack and Save have now kept that sold cabinet that's branded Made North Canterbury in their supermarket as a permanent showcase of North Canterbury produce. We also modified the website just recently, so now we can profile all the local food and beverage producers for free. And Kelly, our staff, is working on this. So move and invest in North Canterbury. We also know that North Canterbury is an incredible place to live and work, but we have never shaped that story for our employers to assist with them when attracting staff and talent. We've developed a marketing campaign, which I may have said to you last time, the tagline, Move On Up. This project's only commenced in the last 6 months, and we've already developed and launched a new website, a new brand featuring 6 videos, stories and facts and figures about living and working here. The videos are fully funded by the business and your industry, which are all part of their story and that of their workers who have moved to North Canterbury. We've developed a toolkit also on that website for employers to download on health, education, housing and the like. It is a work in progress. This is all about getting and creating our regional brand. After interviewing though 22 large businesses just prior to Christmas, it was decided to put a digital marketing campaign on hold until there is an appetite for them to fund this. And there is a genuine need, and we're all aware that we've had over 140,000 new migrants land in New Zealand over the last 12 months, meaning that the landscape has changed in employing staff, and we responded appropriately. So instead of we're focused on building the regional brand for North Canterbury, we will continue to build on this and work closely with businesses and industry. So one such industry is the Maypower funded video.
I've lived in North Canterbury for most of my life. My wife Fiona is also from here. We travelled a bit, lived and worked in Australia and Europe, but we chose to come back to North Canterbury to start our family. I work at Maypower, North Canterbury's electricity distribution company. I've been with Maypower for 20 years. I started on the tools as a digger operator and gradually moved up to my current position as a customer-initiated works representative. Maypower has supported me through this whole journey. They believe in their people and provide the necessary tools, resources and training to create an environment where growth and success are not just possible but expected. As a community-owned company, Maypower has a huge focus on funding local initiatives and sport industry. It's really awesome back there. What I love about North Canterbury is access to the outdoors. The hills and the rivers are all on my back doorstep. It's incredible what's gone on here in North Canterbury in the last 20 years. It's grown so much, but it's still the best place to be.
Looks really, doesn't it, Whistle? It was so popular that video with Maypower, they wanted us to do another one. We went, no, hold off, your industry is covered. But they're just so pleased, and it sits on their website as well as ours, so they fund it, but we organise it so we own it, they get full use of it, and we use their reels for our social media from Erin, and so as I said, we produce 6 videos, and that's enough for the time being, but it's more about stories now and the facts. So, okay. Just as you were told by Simon, we have produced a new strategic plan. Our last one expired last year, so we workshopped with the staff and board of Enterprise North Canterbury and developed a new strategic plan for the next 10 years. There were 3 key themes: objectives supported. The plan was approved by the board in November and supported by both councils in December. The 3 themes develop and maintain a strong regional brand identity. This includes made for North Canterbury and moved to North Canterbury. Theme 2 is what we do well, supporting existing and new businesses to grow and prosper. This includes business support, business attraction, and a sustainable future. And the 3rd theme is grow visitor numbers and value to North Canterbury by delivering the Waimakariri district visitor marketing strategy and working with investors to develop new visitor attraction catalyst projects. And we've got, obviously, the box that beneath this will be our statement of intent and business plans and budgets. So that's it from me. I'd like to hand over to Claire to talk about the draft statement of intent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Heather. Just with regards to finishing, with regards to the statement of intent that we've presented today and that you're all very well aware of, let's hope there's some feedback and a few queries to come on board would be fabulous. It's been approved by the NC board, and this does reflect obviously the objectives that we've established and most importantly the 10-year strategic plan, and obviously making sure it's in line with the council plan and the economic development strategy that has been created. So yes, certainly welcome some feedback there. It means that we can continue to focus on the things that we do well and constantly monitoring and reporting the needs of businesses. An annual business plan and budget is approved each year, as you know, by the board and is delivered on those objectives. The team at ENC is small, but certainly very highly motivated. Miles and Guy, Janine, Zoe, Anna and Kelly. They produce a multitude of various different projects and all presenting and resulting very well. As we know, the success of these projects is purely related to what businesses are contributed and how we're all engaged in these. So we certainly welcome some feedback and some comments.
Thank you, Claire. Simon, you wish to?
No, good. I'll hand over to you.
Thank you. Look, I've a question. Last year there was some delay in expenditure that you had for projects, and they were deferred. I just wondered when they're going to be complete, or are they in the, where do they fit into the picture of this year and certainly the statement of intent?
Just overall, most of that will be expended in this next 6 months. So the profit loss that you would have seen wasn't a deferral of projects, it was just a deferral of expenditure, and the timing of those projects. For example, the cycle trail will be finished and it'll go, that expenditure was waiting to be spent this particular period. It's basically timing. So when you see the 12-month report, there won't be a deferral of any, and there's no projects being deferred whatsoever. It's just the budgeting has looked like it's the timing.
Okay, thanks. And just the SOI with the strategic plan, just so that lines up, there's no other adjustments or anything happening outside that needs to?
No, so the last lot of business plans and budgets, well, business plans always aligned with the previous strategic plan, but this new strategic plan is now reflected in the new statement of intent. So it looks quite different in the new statement of intent, but it's a mirror of our strategic plan, and that will be the way it will be for the next 10 years going forward. And under, as I said, beneath that sits a multitude of projects and budgets that are aligned to those 3 things.
Thank you. Paul.
Yes, interesting with your cycle trails. Comparing to Christchurch you've mentioned, does that involve the connection of the Kaikoura cycle trails along the coast. So are you aware that they've come to quite a few obstacles that they've put in the too-hard basket and basically said it won't happen?
No, I'm not.
For example, the tunnels,
Yeah.
Seddon, you've got the under the bridge there, and then they come to the railway with that big concrete culvert, and that was before the change of government. When they were wanting to do that.
The question is,
are you aware? And the other question is, you've got 27, 24 kilometres of Yeoman. Where does it go to if this connection doesn't finish? Does it go to a dead end, or was it linked in by something?
27 kilometres finishes at the Waimakariri Bridge. We didn't need to spend money on upgrading the Waimakariri Trail, which comes into Rangiora, and we're working with council to really make it more safer on road, getting from the top of the Waimakariri Trail to the Passionate Trail. That's been quite an obstacle, but that's all on road currently. So we're waiting for the Woody bypass and hopefully a new clip-on cycle on that new bridge potentially, or an extended bridge that we're hearing with the Woody bypass, and the big flat bridge needs some work, doesn't it? So once we get them over there, then it's all go. So this is still, we've done our bit. It's really probably in the next 2 to 4 years before you'll see, but that doesn't stop Hurunui carrying on with the next part of the trail, going for their funding, because they're going to have more likely chance of getting funding for that part of the cycle trail than Waimakariri.
I was just really concerned about it.
Yeah, but they did build the Dunstan Trail on a cliff, so anything's possible.
I've actually closed those ones in Kaikoura.
Yeah.
And I've thought about the train too, potentially the Hunterleys could be a problem on a bike. But there's nothing stopping, like a multi-ride can actually be where a train picks you up in Waipara and then takes you to Kaikoura. And then you carry on from there. Except for obstacles, obviously. But the rail trail is looking really, really positive.
Joe.
Thank you for all the work you do, and I see that we've come a long way with particularly our websites and that type of promotion over the last 2 or 3 years, particularly since you've had a full-time person into there. It's been a great goal. We're all not struggling, but we have challenges in our local promotions associations with funding. There's a couple of questions or some clarification I'd like from you. What is the plan to obtain additional funding for your work, and how will you go about it?
I'm always looking for additional funding. Sorry to put everything I've known for a while in New Zealand. You should see when I go see Brown Abbott, he goes, oh, how much really do you want me out?
So you go visit them?
Of course.
You go to Wellington?
Not to Wellington, but to Christchurch. A lot of, so for example, for the regional business partner program, we're heavily involved in that, but that's based in Christchurch. So we sit under the umbrella in Christchurch, but all our stuff is fed back into Wellington. Our reports, if I went and knocked on the door, I had to have a very good reason. There was just no plan out of them yet what they're going to spend their money on. And as soon as it becomes available, I'm after it.
Okay, that's good. I've got one other question. Well, I'm just sort of interested in, let me see, I think probably that's, it's just that the joint, and I'm sure you'll be brought in, but the joint
question is,
promotions, my question is.
I think we'll go to Councillor Fulton. Councillor Fulton, the question.
I'm interested in the dark sky trail. That coincidentally it's a phrase that I actually had in mind for another project of mine out of the way for visitor attraction. So I'm wondering what does that actually comprise along the way? Is there a part of the strategy? Will there be stops along the way? Got your impact assessment, 46 mil. What's going to stop people along the way? What's going to draw people out west?
Well, it's in development, obviously, and it is a new product, so we're now joining with those districts. Kakura, they're already doing, they're going up to get that Sky accreditation. Kenya has already got Manuka Sky, so they've got a private operator that takes visitors up to the top of one of the mountains, and they do the observatory type thing, and they're actually building a facility. You've got Oxford with its own observatory. West Melbourne's got an observatory, but ending up in obviously Teppo, and we want to get on board with that too. Apparently Oxford's like one of the only places that you can actually look up and see the Milky Way. So we say when you get to Oxford, look up.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, the wayfinding signs, which I'm pleased to hear about your orange triangles along the cycleways, is there any potential that when you're putting up that signage along the wayfinding that you could actually provide more information about the stops along the way, along the wayfinding, whether there's QR codes, it's another area.
Yeah, we've looked at QR codes, but already there is a lot of signage on those, like particularly ECAN Council and the Tuatara TKOT. They've got signage, so we are only doing the wayfinding, and these QR codes would be a great opportunity because we actually have the trails on our maps, which we've just produced more cycle maps, they're flying, and walking maps, flying out the door with 5,000 copies a year. So, yeah, I think wayfinding is really the most important thing in a story because currently it's not a joined up cycle trail. So we can't call it a cycle trail. It's cycleways that we're going to be doing wayfinding so people know how to get onto different cycle trails because they're all different owners.
But you could allow for different grades of cycleways, so some could be quite rural, rough country. They don't need to be all between these sealed things. So that's right. You could get well into trail.
Yeah.
Councillor Kent.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm always impressed, Heather, in terms of the work that you put into all these reports, so congratulations to you and Heather, so clear. In terms of the videos, I'm really impressed by the quality of the videos. I'm just wondering in terms of, I noticed that there is no wayfinder or no links to the businesses like I noticed Good Street and the Rusty Acre and that sort of thing. Is there any reasons why you've chosen not to actually put linkages into, right, people see the video, then go to that location? Is there any rationale behind that?
No rationale. It's a district video rather than a business video, that one. So it's enticing people to come boutique shopping, and while you're here, get on out to the country, nicely drive out there, you could go by the Hoka Farmers Market on the way out to Rusty Acre. It was just hey, look how beautiful our district is and what it has to offer. But I'll mention that to Janine. Because once you start mentioning it is a district-wide, then people go, why did you mention the River Queen or the, so it's just why not make a day of it video?
Perfect. Another question, in terms of the $57,000 in gross sales that you've made over the last 6-month period, how many of those sales are the local providers, i.e. the likes of the jet boats on the Waimakariri River and the hovercraft and the likes of, let's say, the River Queen? How many of those would be local providers, please?
Probably not that many. A lot of it is locals booking out. So as you know, that there is a local service, the Kapua Information Centre for Kapua residents to book, obviously buses, trains, ferries, but also visitors. So here's their next destination that they're booking. We don't book the River Queen. He doesn't take bookings from the other side. He does that all from his Facebook, but we certainly make a lot of referrals to have a look about his phone number. And some local operators don't want to pay 12% commission, which is what we charge as an Iceland. So of that 57,000 gross, we get 12.5% commission.
Right. And the final question, if I may, I noticed that based on that, I see Kaiapoi being extremely busy, certainly over the last 6 months with regard to the Motorhome Association being on average 93% full, that you've got a visitor numbers are actually 19.5% down. Are you looking to change that, and how are you going to look to change and increase the number of people coming into the office, please?
I'll tell you what, a lot of people are coming in from the Motorhome Association. We don't capture the bus, we don't capture all of those people that come in and ask. We are capturing the transactions and the value of the transactions, but we've just actually put in a bellwether as being part of Eyesight New Zealand and the Tier 2, a bellwether visitor counter. So everybody that sits at the information centre desk or around there will be counted, but not going into the business centre. So I'll be able to give you a bit more detail there. Because a lot of times when you're busy, they're not counted, it's all done manually as people come in, how many visitors, that visitor, what they want, and they do get busy. But coming in from the Motorhome Association, always looking for what they can do, where they can bike, what bus they can catch, where they can eat. They're certainly frequenting the shops. Spoken to Andrew Blackwell, and he said it's been transformational for his business, as NZulu and Craze, all of them, the feedback's been tremendous. It's bigger than a motel when you think at 93% occupancy rate for 100 berths, nearly 200 people visiting Kaiapoi every night is bigger than a motel, so we're very grateful.
Thank you.
I could just add to that, it was a question asked me in the weekend, am I seeing any increase at Urban Revival in Silver Street? To answer that honestly, we are not seeing any of that market coming through. We certainly have cyclists, but it's not showing that they are connected to Kaiapoi. A lot of them are people coming out from Christchurch onto that cycleway. So even though we're literally 2 or 3 kilometres away in Silver Stream, we're certainly not seeing any of that market from the motorhomes.
Is there something that we could do better to?
100%. I feel we need to meet with regards to how we can get signage or get people to that area, and how we can connect that. And it was just a comment that was raised amongst a couple of businesses in the weekend.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Redmond.
Thank you. A good report as usual. Couple of questions from me. On page 28 in our system, you set out the compensation received from local authorities. I noticed 2 things. One, you've allowed, and there may be a reason for this, for Huranui having a fixed contribution over the next 3 years. Is there a reason for that?
That has been historical. Last year they increased it by 10% because we said everything else has gone up. So, and as I said, main power increased theirs by 15%. But it has been historical that it's just stayed flat and no CPI, and I raised that with the council.
Right, that leads on to my second question. I notice you're not doing district promotion for Huranui?
No.
In terms of time and resources allocated for economic development, are they utilised in proportion to the funding received from this council in Huranui?
Yeah, I look at those numbers all the time because when I go to see them, they go, are we getting value for our $56,250? Because apparently that's quite a large grant from them. It's 1% of their rate take apparently. And they get about between 17 and 25% uptake in all of the programs that we deliver in economic development. And I scrutinise each one, whether that be the business awards, the business support, the MAID members, and all of those things. So I'm very, very good. Because I have to justify to them that their investment is well placed with the NC and that their business have access to all of our programs, our economic development programs that we run.
Right, thank you. And my last question is, do you prioritise the hire of council venues when you're running functions such as the business awards?
You did last year. Yeah.
I mean, going forward.
So that's under discussion.
There's a balance, I suppose, in terms of the cost to ENC for hosting an event at any given facility, and so they, whilst I think there's strong support for WDC facilities from ENC, I think they also have to balance that with the relative cost of having spent for those activities.
And the cost is generally charged to the ticket price, and it's already $195 per ticket, which is a lot for a small business to find, and tipping it over 200 just isn't palatable for our board.
Councillor Williams and then Councillor Fulton. Questions?
Yeah, it's good to see you've got 3 new businesses started as a direct response of Enterprise North Canterbury, and the way I read it is they wouldn't start if it hadn't been for that. Do you have a continuous support and checking on those businesses to make sure they are still running good and all that? And can we have a report on those particular 3 businesses in 12 months' time to see how they're going and producing? So of course you'd be helping them to grow and all that kind of, so it'd be very interesting to see how much things are happening out there and the end result rather than the starting result. So
yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Fulton, last question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just checking out, I think it's probably an earlier question, but I've asked before about our faded green and yellow heritage signs from another era, like our central trail signs, etc. A lot of them are decrepit, unreadable, completely faded. It's one at Browns Rock in Oxford, which we recognise as our first district irrigation scheme. You can't read it. So is there a way that we could investigate with the council to actually have this remediated? Because it seems a pity that we're representing our street heritage that way.
I've noticed a few of those signs. I think there's one at Pine Acres, has the heritage trails and it's decrepit as well. I've thought about plonking something over the top of it. I think I'd be against wanting to do that. So there'd be a process to, and I'm not sure about what that is.
Heritage trail doesn't exist anymore.
No, but all those signs are still there. And as you come into Pine Acres, there's a big sign prior to Pine Acres that says Heritage Trail. And they said I'd be tempted to use it for something else.
It would almost be better knock it over now.
Well, I don't think anybody would miss it, even different side, I'm sure. Or into the eyesight this way.
Right, thank you. We have a mover, Mr Mayor, seconder, Councillor Ward.
Just in terms of the report, which is the draft statement of intent, I obviously support this and the work that the team undertakes, from Enterprise North Canterbury undertakes on behalf of our council. It's a huge workload, Heather, and I do, you and the team do, and I'm always impressed with the positivity that your team express in the work that they're out doing in the community. And I hear back from businesses all around who have had support and have had the contact. And to acknowledge you also, Claire, I think people realise at times just the amount of work that goes on the voluntary board. And we're extremely lucky, I think, on the board of Enterprise North Canterbury to have the skill set that we do and all the time that is given, and you particularly as chair, giving your skill set in a voluntary capacity because you're doing this because you believe in it. And I just want to acknowledge and thank you for that. There were some questions earlier about the cycling and the linking up of the wheels to wings, or whatever we call it these days, Waipara to wheels to Waipara. I still really believe in that project. I think I would be really hopeful that at some stage there can be some further attraction of funding, so I wouldn't want to see that lost as a project. because I think the work, it's one that's taken a bit of time. It's not on the immediate priority list, but it may well be one that discussed at some stage. In particular, who'd have thought some years ago, but it was the then Prime Minister John Key, and the conversation I understood happened in a side room that ended up with cycle funding, and we got that for Raniora and Kaipoi, and of course nationally we've got Audit, and I'm hoping that we do get the linkage at some stage between Audit and Kaipoi, and I think logically some of that will happen as part of the Audit bypass project. There has been indications that the bridge, Old Main North Road Bridge, will get some widening or some work undertaken as part of that project. So we'd like to see where that scope comes, because if that happens, that will be a game changer, because that's where there's one of the main issues there. But I do hear people using our cycle areas a lot. I've got friends that come out and speak how positively it is, but to Claire's point, I think we need to make sure that, just over time, that those wider areas are looked at, like Silverstream and those localities, to make sure that that's well known. But I hate to go on the cycle trail to Christchurch. Councillor Redmond reminds me, and he's going to lend me his e-bike, and he's going to use his wife's, I think, one day, and we will use it, because I actually am very keen to do that and to seek that experience. But the e-bike will make that more enjoyable. Just in terms of the question earlier around the business awards, I really do want to see that obviously it's a decision for the trust that runs the facility on our behalf, or want to see the barriers removed for using it. If there are, and I have raised it with the trust chair, and I know that's been raised at staff level and certainly council board as well. So we'll leave that to the powers that be to have those conversations, because having that facility available is really important. It was built as a multi-use facility, and I really do want to see it be used for that. It's predominantly used for sport, fantastic, nothing but great comments back, but we want to see events, other events there, and I understand there's going to be a national dog convention or dog show in the next couple of years, so it's really great. That's what its whole purpose was. The balance to that is also still the accommodation question, which do want to hopefully see the aspirations achieved more broadly that have been talked about, Pegasus and other localities here in Dan Smith as part of the Car Museum proposal. So when we get people here for events, there's limited accommodations. It's like Dunedin, where you're being accommodated elsewhere. It's not a major, but it is if we want to see people remaining here. I get constant feedback around the how great the Motor Caravan Association is, and acknowledge the DPV and others who are involved in seeing that get over the line. So it is something that's very positive, and I know it benefits our district from those around that say that when people are here, they're around spending money in the local communities, and anecdotally we know that that is occurring. But Heather, just to say that support statement of intent, support 100% the work that's going on with Enterprise North Canterbury. I know there's discussion going on with the councils of Hiranui and Kaikoura of where this might end up. The questions that were raised before around contributions by Councillor Redmond may well be resolved over that time. But it's fair to say that our district's support is here because of the work that you're doing, and will continue to be there because I think you really do deliver and do an awesome job. So thank you.
Councillor Wood.
Thank you. I just want to also reiterate that a big thank you to a very small, vibrant team, very important for our district. And so thank you for all your work. We really appreciate it. Just an add-on about congratulations for the National Dog Show next year that's come to Raniora from in September next year. A lot of those people will be coming in motorhomes with their dogs, A suggestion is that our A&B showgrounds would be a great facility if we to consider accommodating some of those, could be up to 400 or 500 motorhomes, so could be really great for our district. So that's just a little side on, but thank you for your work.
Thank you. Rather reply, Mr. Mayor. I'll put that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time, too.
Well done. 5.2, Chris and Joseph. Well, Joseph.
So similar to the last report, this is a statement of intent, but this time from the Te Kohaka Tūhai Tātou Trust. You'll see in the report the statement of intent attached there for your reading, which includes what the Trust is looking to do over the next year, both in the wider reserve, and also you'll note that they've got a specific reference to Huria Reserve in there as well, seeing as though they now lease that area. You'll see in 4.3 some changes to what was in the last statement with removal of the office space and education facility, the development of 4G restoration sites, but the addition of the 10 lease sections in the Kairaki regeneration area. So I'll just leave that as an overview, and if Joseph wants to add any words, then I'll hand it over to you. Otherwise, questions?
Okay, nothing to add. One, our projections for the leases, the Kairaki leases, are very conservative. So initially, we identified that we wanted to lease between 20 sections, but we also identified that that process will take probably more than 1 year to lease them all. So we're looking at this year, if we manage to lease 10, that'd be great. At the moment, we're having conversations and signed lease agreements with 4. Consequently, our estimates, our financial projections are conservative, to say.
Thank you, Joseph. Questions of Chris? Philip.
Thanks for coming along. On our page 45, not sure what it is. Could be 45 in your system too. You've provided for a 9.2% increase in council funding. What is the reason, or why is that increase proposed at a time we're all being asked to exercise restraint? I just wondered what is that 9.2% for?
It's a really good question. I would have to come back to you with that. I don't know off the top of my head exactly what that's for. You can see the differences in the budgets identified there in the little table, but I can't see exactly where that 9.2% increase comes from.
My understanding, while Nick was here, he identified that.
Sorry,
my understanding is that while Nick was here, he identified that funding from the council to fund programs and wages was actually not meeting our requirements.
I think he did. He had another look at that and revised that. And I thought that there wasn't going to be a significant increase. I imagine a good portion of the 9.2 will simply just be inflation costs and costs on revaluation and depreciation, like you've seen in most of the other budgets that we've had come through. But I'd have to go through the budget and actually take all of those costs out. You can see some increases there above 9% with directors' insurance. But I'd have to go and itemise each of those in the budget to bring back to you exactly where the 9.2% was.
Could that be something when the LTP is considered you can provide?
Thank you. Further questions? Appear to have none. Mover. I'll move from the chair, second from here. Everything in here, as far as I'm concerned, looks to be in line and what you would call a business as usual, I suppose, with some new objects in there, or long coming ones. And I know that Te Kohaka has worked extremely hard to get to where they are today, in a pretty difficult world when fundraising and so on is pretty hard to get to. So I commend on what you're doing. We'll wait for that memo and have a look at that, obviously at LTP time, and go from there. But look, thank you for what you're doing down there. Again, we get nothing but good comments from what's happening, and I think both your plans are lining up pretty well. So I look forward to working with you over the next few years to see how it all resolves. Mr. Mayor.
Just to join in your comments, Mr. Chair, I think it's a partnership, Te Kohaka Tuatara Trust, one that we're particularly proud of, and the work that's been going on for a number of years, which I fully support. The question of funding was raised by Councillor Evans. I would welcome the clarity on that, and we did significantly increase the funding so many years ago to acknowledge the work and effort that's going in. Can't be done on the scale I've already read. This is important work. We're to ensure that we're meeting the objectives that we all have and that we all share. Joseph, just like to acknowledge your role as chair and thank you for the work that you do. I know that it's been a little bit of rockiness there over the last period of time, but I understand that you're doing a really great job as chair and trying to get that smooth. Hopefully there'll be a new manager to be appointed, and I do, Councillor Blakey does keep me up to date with what's going on with the trust, so I'm very appreciative of the work that's been done there. The lease opportunities as well in the sections, I know there's been a lot of work going to that, so I'm really hopeful that they will be able to be delivered down there. But look, just to acknowledge your work and the work that is done by the trust and the trustees, because again, we couldn't do it without that partnership in place, so thank you. I support the SOI that's here today.
Further speakers? If there be none, I'll put that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Sorry about the wait.
That's okay. Look, once again, and Dan, absolutely. I'd also like to acknowledge the support that we get from council. This relationship, this genuine co-governance arrangement we have managing a large tract of land, and to take the point of the blurb for the advertisement, waimakariri won't make it a day. We've got a lot of activities and can fill you in for a day at 2 Haitana, so absolutely.
Thank you.
Tui yet? Any sign of Tui yet?
Not yet. Well, not at my place, but
beautiful bellbirds yesterday.
Right, 5.3, Sarah, I assume I'll be doing that.
Standing with you today. So this is your regular update for information. Since the producing of the documentation, the attachment has had quite a clean out, and most of those have now been dispatched with limited time of quarantine. So I take the report as read and open for questions.
Questions of Sarah, Paul?
Just a query, you've got some of these requests, request 1, 2, 3 and 4. Are they 4 different people or the same person requests 4 times?
That is generally the same person. Once they get the first response, they come back with additional queries.
So they're not 4 different people.
Further questions? Move for the report. Move, Councillor. Move to Councillor Winder Williams. Seconded Councillor Falcon.
Councillor Williams.
No, thanks for the report. It's actually quite interesting to know, particularly what the fire service and all those ones, some of the government departments asking for as well. So thank you.
Thanks for the report, Madam Chair.
To reply to, I'll put that motion. All those in favour?
No.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Sarah. Portfolio updates. Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Mr Chair. The first one is the council goes out for consultation this Friday, 15th of March through to the 15th of April. The consultation document received an unmodified opinion with an emphasis on letter around the NZTA funding. This will be consistent across all local government, and the purpose is to highlight to the public that some of the projects included for consultation are still subject to receiving funding, which is currently unknown due to the timing of when NZTA make their funding decisions. Nicole has spoken to her counterparts at the local councils, and it appears that the increase in audit requirements and level of information requested from Audit New Zealand, this LTP, has been consistent across the board. Audit New Zealand will be back at the end of May to audit the final LTP document. Planning session between Waimakariri District Council and Audit New Zealand will be taking place on Wednesday, the 13th of March, to agree on timelines for the year-end audit. Noting that this will be a busy time of year for the finance team, with the ERP system also going live on the 1st of July. These dates will be circulated with the Audit and Risk Committee. We have submitted to S&P an appeal given the current industry downgrade of the S&P ratings. We were told this would go to the S&P board for review, and we had asked not to be named from the current media release. We are waiting on a feedback from this meeting and have some time penciled in with S&P this week, the 8th of April, to discuss. So then I would just like to welcome Greg to our wonderful team, and I'm sure you will enjoy your time with us.
Thank you very much.
And my next one is from Marie.
You got any questions on it?
Oh, sorry, any questions?
There'll be none. Thank you.
Thank you. Marie was here. A couple of points. LIM application numbers really took off in February. It was our highest number of applications for February since 2012. We issued 225 LIMs and turned around applications in 5 days. Well done, team. The third rates instalment was due in February, and penalty letters were sent out last week to 1,848 ratepayers, where all or part of the third instalment was unpaid. This number is consistent with earlier years. Some staff had a first look at the new Datacom computer system when key user training was held last month. There is still some configuration to be done, but initial comments are generally positive. So that's from Marie. Any questions on that?
Yep. Have we got any numbers of the people? We had a training session, I think, with people there about they get the rebates from people around. Has the numbers that people are applying, has that gone up considering other years or stayed consistent? Do we know anything on that?
Oh, sorry.
I think probably the rates, I think it has increased. I'm not sure the numbers, but I know Marie has reported, my memory says that the numbers have increased for the people getting rebates.
Yeah, sorry. I think it's not a significant increase, like it's a gradual increase over time, but that's obviously as more properties come on board as well and people take advantage of the ability to receive a rebate. But it's not a significant portion. If I look at the LTP, it's something that remains consistent that we budget for over time for 10 years.
All right, is that all from that? And my last report is from Alistair, who in communications, more And recently, we've had a big focus on green space events, Children's Day, Parks Week, the writing and advertising of the LTP, and we're welcoming a new staff member later this month called Maria Cullen. This is a replacement role. Now, this quarter was characterised by weather events and bad news, such as the extreme wind event lasting several days, Oxford Rural Number 1, mandatory chlorination notice going district-wide, central government election and reaction to various policy statements, ombudsman report releases, art censored at the Rainbow Library. A couple of highlights of this report include, in the fourth quarter of 2023, communications and engagement worked on 9 communication plans, produced 35 news stories and received 101 media inquiries. 9 engagement projects that reached 5,743 residents and had 653 contributions. Website had visits of 140,000, up 8,000 from the same period last year. There was a spike on October 6 when we released an update on the waimakariri Gorge Bridge. Search continues to be the most popular page on our website, and combined with homepage search functions, this made up to 67,000 visits. One e-newsletter sent, which had an open rate of 67%. Anything above 20% is considered success in digital marketing. This quarter, we launched a new EVM targeting dog owners to support the ESU team. 369 internal website changes requested by staff. Social media followers on Facebook of 23,749, up 384, with a reach of 251,531 and 57,122 visits. Instagram, which is a new platform for us, has a following of 460 and growing, up 40% or 10%. We welcomed our new senior graphic designer, Sam McNeely. There are 43 design projects for standalone marketing campaigns this quarter. On top of this, there were 95 proofs for additional work. Some examples are attached in the report, so I've sent that through, so you'll all get to that. I think so. That's the end of the communications. Any questions? I think it's just a huge effort.
Question, well, it's a question probably Mr. Mayor, whether we can have a workshop again at some point about how we deliver. I'm increasingly getting comments from the public of, well, I don't visit your website, why would I go to your website? For what reason? And I just wonder whether we can get to Alistair at some point and have a bit of a workshop where we can talk about how we get people to visit the website. Because Joe Blogs goes, well, why would I go to the council website? What for? And that's where our information is. And from what I'm getting increasing communication about is, people just go, well, I don't go there. Why would I go there? And I think the other issues around, I mean, very clearly, the news media has got a huge change coming, as we've all seen in the last couple of weeks. So how that, it's about getting people to the right place and how do you do that?
Yeah, well, just an answer to your question to me.
We have lunch
with the Coles Nicole, you was it? Simon. Yeah, sorry. So I'm very happy for there to be a workshop. So I'm more than happy for that to be put on the list. Perhaps Adrian could just take a note of that to raise with Sarah. But I think, and what I know Alistair and the comms team would welcome it as well, in terms of just sharing what they're doing, and in fact, if that's the feedback, how do you best channel that? There's never an easy way of getting everyone to one source, as we often find, but how they find it is really important, so that they're kept up to date. So good point, and I think a workshop on that would be handy.
Mr. Chair, could I suggest maybe, sometimes in Northern News or Northern Outlook do a feature on one of our team members, and maybe a feature on our communications might get to everybody in one postway.
That's where I thought a bit of a workshop might be helpful. Probably won't take too long, really, but it's just a matter of raising that profile for ourselves. Anyway, looks like we'll do that at some point. So, all right. Thank you, Joan. Right. I have no questions. I have no urgent general business. I'll move from the chair that we move into public excluded matters that are on the paper there. Do I have a seconder? Seconded Councillor Goldsworthy. And there is one set of minutes there. Moved by Councillor Williams. Seconded by Councillor Goldsworthy. Councillor, any alterations or anything to I'll put that, all those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. I'll move from the chair that we come out of public excluded and into open meeting, and that the business discussed with the public excluded remains public excluded. Second to Councillor Williams. I'll put that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Right. Back in open meeting, and I will declare the meeting closed at 10:36. Thank you all for your attendance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, 15, I think.